Welcome to Lecture 5 of Networks, Friends, Money, and Bytes. The question we're going to formulate and answer today is a very important one in our daily lives. How can I trust an average rating on Amazon? Now, we have been talking about recommendation twice already. For Google's PageRank, is recommending web pages through a ranking that turns a graph of hyperlinked web pages into a rank order list. And then for Netflix, recommendation engine, like those collaborative filtering methods used in Netflix Price, it turns the bipartite user movie graph or the user movie table into a set of rank order lists. So one list per user. So this one is individualized, but this is not. And today's topic is recommendation by Amazon. And we're talking about specifically recommendation in the form of average rating. And then in the next lecture, we will keep talking about aggregating multiple information into a simple single one. Today's aggregation says that for each product, there is a list of scores. And we want to change that vector into a scalar. And then we can say, let's compare many products by looking at their scalar rating of some kind. And then this will lead into a ranking based on the scalarized version of the vector. Now you may say that one easy way to convert a vector into a scalar is just to take the average. And indeed, that is what is shown on Amazon. On the Amazon page, you've got a product, and then there will be the average number of stars, say 4.5 stars, 3.8 stars, and so on. So that is a scalar representation of the entire vector. Very few people have the time to go through all the reviews or all the ratings in each review, and therefore this is a nice quick summary. Many of us based our purchase decision in part on this average number. But the question is, when can we trust it? A very simple question would be, shall we buy a product with 4.5 stars and 2 reviews, or one with 4 stars and 1,000 reviews? Now this contrast is so big that most people would say, I'm going to pick this one because 1,000 reviews, that must be a very robust 4-star. Whereas 2 reviews, I don't know what would happen if there are more reviews. What if it is, instead of this, a 4.3 stars with 100 review versus 4.1 star with 200 reviews? Now that choice would be much harder to make on an intuitive base. So how can we quantitatively understand this choice? Now, review system used in so many places, not only on Amazon, but on, for example, every step of the academic enterprise, from the application to graduate school, to a tenure track assistant professor, to paper review, proposal review, tenure and promotion. We all rely on peer review systems. In general, peer review system, especially like those on Amazon online store, consists of 3 tuples: rating, a text of review, and reviews of review. Rating is simply just a number, and usually 1 to 5 stars. But it could also be 1 to 10. Right? It could be -3 to +3. But in any case, it is some kind of number, usually integer. And a review is a text. Now, the text could be just a couple of lines, could be 5 pages. And then reviews of review, which could be thumbs up and down, which could be, do you find it useful or not, which is again a binary review. It could actually be a text of review on this review, if you have a thread allowing rebuttal back and forth. Okay. We can also implicitly understand the quality of review through, for example, reputation score of the reviewer. So there are many challenges in understanding how to best use a review system. One is the gatekeeper problem. Can anyone enter review, or only those that actually can be verified to have bought the product or used the service? Is this anonymous or is it ID based? If it's anonymous, how can we prevent people from just entering random reviews, or competitor entering bad reviews, or the owner of the product or service entering really good reviews? There's also the issue of scale. If we give the choice of 1 to 10, often 7 becomes the mode of the distribution, with the bimodal distribution around it. Okay, from 1 to 10, somewhere around 7. If instead the scale is 1 to 5, the story is different. Is that, however, large enough dynamic range? If the scale is -5 to +5, it actually changes people's psychology, because minus sounds like really bad. If the scale is only 1 to 3, it really narrows people's choices. So gatekeeping and scaling really matters before we can start even talking about review systems. Then we face this challenge we mentioned, the number of reviews. This is a particular focus point in this lecture. Now we know that more reviews is better, assuming this is not just random or artificial reviews. So if it's truly valid reviews, we want more. The question is, how big is big enough for the review population, such that the average rating is trustworthy? And in fact, can we make the rating, the average rating, modified, adjusted by the review population size? Okay. And there's also the question of what is the performance metric. This is very difficult. First of all, depending on what you're reviewing, some of them are very subjective, like movies in IMDb or Rotten Tomato. Sometimes they're very objective. For example, electronics on Amazon. And sometimes it's in between. For example, hotels on TripAdvisor or restaurants on OpenTable. It's also driven by whose needs are we thinking about? Okay. Is it the reviewers, or is it the owner or the seller of the product and services? And how do we quantify the notion of usefulness to different parties? The lack of a universally agreed performance metric is one of the reasons why this problem is very challenging. For example, you may disagree with root mean square error or L2 norm from last lecture on Netflix challenge, but most people agree this is a reasonable proxy of the actual performance. Whereas for Amazon average rating, there's no consensus yet. Now, given all these challenges, it might seem that it is very difficult to come up with a good review system. At least average the entries by different reviewers is not going to work out. However, there are also well-documented anecdotal stories that show the potential of review system or even simple averaging. A famous example is an experiment run by Galton in 1906 on a farm in Plymouth, United Kingdom. It's a farms festival, and there were many people. Most of them are not farmers themselves. And there was an ox. That's my artistic rendering of the ox. Okay, on a stage, and there are many people standing next to the ox. They each play the game of guessing how heavy the ox is. It turns out there are 787 who entered their guess on a piece of paper, okay, put it into a bin. And Galton said, oh, it is impossible for these people who are not real experts on ox weight guessing to be able to come up with an accurate guess. So he took all these numbers Do a simple averaging. The number is 1,197 pounds. It turns out that the actual weight is 1,198 pounds. It's almost exactly accurate. So this 99.9% accuracy is just amazing. And this has been told and retold many times as a story illustrating the potential of a wisdom of crowds. So our question is, how can we generalize this observation? And can this simple averaging carry over to Amazon?